Everybody, Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern, Sundays with Andrew Zarian. It is Tuesday on the show. You know what that means? We got a lot to talk about today, including tonight's NXT. 4 segments announced for the show tonight. We'll tell you about all of those, including, yes, in the Haas match of the week, Oba Femi versus Otis has been announced for the match. It is an NXT North American title match. So we'll go over the full lineup for the show, plus Dynamite tomorrow. A lot of stuff announced for Dynamite tomorrow. And we've also got all of the news, including some fellas re-signing new deals with WWE. We already knew about Chad Gable, 3-year deal, but Randy Orton is also re-signed. And we'll tell you about his deal. We've got notes from Collision this past Saturday night. The final AEW show going up head-to-head with the Olympics. As of Wednesday, no more Olympic competitions. We're going to have to see how the numbers end up after that. Got an update on the tag team titles and Jacob Fatu. John Cena talks his retirement. And there's some other retirements we got to talk about as well, including Yoshinari Ogawa, who was done as a result of a neck injury. Also, the Raw report from last night and plenty more. If you want to text us here today, 425-780-7566 is the phone number. That is 425-780-7566. F4W Online at gmail.com. F4W Online, Threads, Instagram, and Cameo. And I am at Bryan Alvarez on Twitter. So any way you want to contact me, we should have time for some stuff today. So get going on all of that. Mike Sempervive joins us as always. Back in a moment, Observer Live. Dealing with children. Actual children. Like my kids. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. God, let me get everything.
You know who else is going to be here later? Adam Abdel is going to be here coming up a little bit later on.
That right? Tell me more.
Yes. He's going to be coming on. He's over in Japan right now. The Visitors book that Nick Karp has done that had a run in New York City as far as a whole art presentation and a whole deal. He's going to be on to talk about that, as well as Game Changer Wrestling taking place over in Japan as well too. So going to be talking about that stuff. Hopefully that was enough time to fill here.
Well, now I got to mention something else. Yes, we'll talk to him a little bit later on here today.
Exhibit was the word I was looking for.
Thank you, Mike.
By the way.
Okay, I've gotten a million questions about this, so just let me clear this up for everybody.
What is going on?
It's everything. My kids are driving me nuts. Thankfully, they're finally out of my hair. Golly, I don't even want to get into the story.
At least you got that going.
Drive me nuts.
Right.
But anyway, a bunch of people have asked this question because, yes, you can now get the podcasts on Apple Podcasts. Okay? It's podcasts only. It's $9.99 a month. Okay? But we've had a million questions about this, so let me explain. And this is the worst time to ask me this because I'm already irritated. Okay? I understand that it takes longer for some of the shows to get up than it does when you subscribe to the main site. Okay? If you want the show immediately after I'm done recording, you have to sign up for the main site. There's nothing that I can do about it, okay? On the main site, WrestlingObserver.com, when I finish recording a show, I upload it to the site, and it's immediately on the RSS feed. It takes 30 seconds. It's on the feed, okay? The problem is, with Apple Podcasts, and with, we're going to eventually have Spotify, the problem is that doesn't happen when you upload with those, okay? When I upload the show, it then goes into processing mode. I don't know what they do when they process it, okay? But it processes and processes and processes. It can take 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, okay? I'm not sitting around. I'm sorry. When I get done recording Observer Radio at 2 a.m., I cannot sit around until 3 a.m. for it to finish processing. So whoever wakes up first in the morning has to go up and click that publish button when it's done processing. So yes, if you're subscribing on Apple Podcasts, your Observer Radio is going to be delayed by several hours as compared to the main site. If you want to pay the extra $5 and sign up on the main site and have it instantly, that's your option. The $9.99, they're going to process it, and it's going to take a little bit longer. So I've had 1,000 people ask me the question. It's not something I'm doing on purpose. There's nothing I can do about it. It's completely out of my hands. They process it, and I got to wait for it to be processed. And I'm sorry. If you want me to charge $50 a month, I'll wait the extra hour at 3 a.m., but I'm not doing it. It's just not happening. So that's the answer to the question. I'm sorry, everybody, it takes so long. It's out of my hands. I should have just had you do the show today.
I was going to say, I'm surprised I didn't get a text here.
So irritated. Guys, let me give you a tip on life. Okay, everyone?
I want to hear this, yes.
You have to be able to be flexible, okay? I understand that everybody likes, and this actually kind of plays into the Apple Podcast thing. Like, I know that everybody has a way that they like to do things, okay? I like to get up in the morning. I want my Observer Radio on my thing the moment I get up in the morning. I get it, okay? I'm the same way. I like things. I schedule my shows, even a show that's not live on the radio. I schedule it for the Bryan and Vinny show's at 8 p.m., okay? It doesn't have to be. It can be anytime I want. Like, it's just on YouTube, but I set it for 8 p.m. That's the time that we do the show, okay? I stick to it. And yes, when something happens and we got to start late or we got to move a day, yeah, not my favorite thing in the world. But you know what? You got to be able to be flexible in life, okay? This isn't a wrestling thing. It's in life, all right? You have a plan. Something goes wrong. You got to swerve. Like, swerve when I drive. You know, you got to be able to maneuver, okay?
Exactly.
That's it.
You got to navigate life. You got to be malleable as you go through these things. And you also left another little nugget in there, even though you didn't mean to, which is you need to be consistent.
Well, you got to try. This is my point. You have to try to be consistent, but you know what? Sometimes you can't be. Sometimes things happen, and you have to be flexible with the changes. You got to, as Hickson Gracie said, flow with the go. That's what he said. You have to flow with, not go with the flow. You flow with the go.
I'm not going to disagree with him.
You better not. He'll beat you silly. All right. I feel a little bit better. If we could explain this to my kids, life would be a lot easier. All right.
It's funny, though, like out of habit, even though you're in this mood, you ask for text messages and interactions with people that you know are going to drive you nuts. What is Lenny doing right now in the chat?
I haven't even looked at the chat today. It's probably for the best that I haven't. Probably a bunch of silliness. People that can't flow with the go. Now, Randy Orton signed a new 5-year deal.
He's just going with the flow and flowing with the go.
He will remain there until he is 49 years old. WWE source reportedly said the shift to guaranteed money is why a new deal was reached, rather than extending his previous one. Guaranteed money associated with contracts now is a drastic shift from 2019. There have been changes to our live event schedule, touring, international dates, media obligations, merchandise, social media. Much more fair to just reach a new deal in many situations, the source told Fightful. Using Orton is notable because one would expect Gunther to be the babyface for a show in Germany. But Orton has been unbelievably popular in the recent events in Europe over the past few months. He will be portrayed as a babyface on television, so we'll see what happens.
He is a legacy act for a lot of people, and he's going to continue to be this way. And looking at his age, knowing what his back condition is, and knowing that he's making a whole lot of money being in a place that he's really, really comfortable, and it's the number one place in the world and probably still will be in 5 years, this might be the last active contract of Randy Orton's career. Not to say he couldn't do some things after this, but this may actually be the last of the run of Randy Orton.
Let me tell you something about this Randy Orton. If you watch AEW nowadays, especially Collision with that MXM promo they had,
oh yeah,
AEW today, and even Lenny would agree to this. AEW today is far more like WWE than it was in 2019. In 2019, it was absolutely 100% a WWE alternative. It's totally different. You know, a couple of you had Jericho or whatever, but it was like all new faces, all different style. It was totally night and day from WWE in 2019.
They were throwing things against the wall.
Now there's a lot of similarities, okay? They've hired tons of people from WWE. I mean, but here's the point. If Randy Orton would have gone to AEW in like 2019, 2020, brother, that would have been a game changer. And it would have been so huge because he was a giant WWE name, and he was a guy, unlike Jericho, he'd only ever been in WWE. He was WWE to the core. He would have been the biggest heel ever. And with everybody else doing that new modern style and him doing the WWE style, my God, this would have been incredible. But he didn't go.
He would have.
Now, I don't think if he would have decided to go to AEW in 2024, it'd been like, another guy going. It'll be, he'll do some stuff or whatever. Not going to be a game changer. It's just, whatever. But he would have been a game changer 2019, 2020.
And they would have had to try to keep up that momentum with him, but he would have provided CM Punk levels of spark, ratings-wise and interest-wise into the company, because unlike a Christian or a Adam Copeland, he still is, as far as people, when you look at him, as far as a lot of everyday fans go, that guy's still in his prime. He's still awesome, especially when you don't know the extent of how much he's been hurting over the last couple of years.
Solo Sikoa is, I guess he's determined that any two members of the Bloodline can defend the tag team. It's Freebird rules.
I like it.
That's what they've
Bloodline
decided.
Rules.
So Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu won the titles. Fatu, this whole thing is complicated. He was supposed to get injured going through that table so that he wouldn't be, like around Roman Reigns. But he also apparently did get a minor injury going through the table. So it's a little of both that occurred, but they do want to keep him away from Roman Reigns. And so if Roman is going to be there beating up the tag champs, it's not going to be him. And I think he's going to be out of action for a little while. But for right now, it's Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa as the tag team champions. And when Fatu comes back and Roman's on the show, Fatu can defend the titles. So that's the way they're doing it for now. Back in a moment with more Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. Okay, can everyone hear it?
Yeah.
There's a mystery bell at Granny's house. She can't hear it. Take off your headphones for a second.
I had them on wrong anyway.
Okay.
I can't get them on right. What?
Take them off and listen.
You have in your elbow?
Is the fan on her computer?
Nothing.
All right. Well, this is going to be an exciting show.
Gonna have bells ringing through the whole thing, and it's every week. It's got to be me.
Do you have a neighbor that's an ice cream man
No,
practicing out there?
I got a neighbor that smokes marijuana.
I'm sure you do. I guess I'm
Whatever that noise is, I mean, it's still going.
Yeah, it's not going to stop, dude.
Brian, do you want me to get off here and go see if open the door and see if there's anything out there?
You think something's out the front door?
Is he been ringing the bell the entire time?
No, Granny, you don't
Let
need
me
to-
in! Let me
it's
in!
Fine, it's fine.
If it's death, don't open the door.
Thank you, Craig. This person thinks it's a stove timer.
Have you burned the roast?
No, I don't have a stove. You want me to just get off here?
No. We're going to barrel through it.
I'd love it.
You're not even doing anything. Granny, Nick says that you've got an old-fashioned analog alarm clock in Terry's bedroom.
I don't know. I got a new alarm clock. Battery operated. Is that what she meant?
Well, whatever it is, it's going haywire right now.
Oh, it might be my alarm.
Do you think?
But it's way back in the bedroom.
Don't worry about it right now. But when the show's over, you might want to go...
That's what it is.
Okay.
Solve the mystery.
Is there a reason you didn't turn it off when it started ringing?
Well, I wasn't in there. I didn't.
Duh.
I took a nap. I took a nap and set the alarm. I thought I shut it off, but I probably didn't.
No.
You probably didn't.
That's life.
I would say with a good deal of certainty that you didn't turn it off.
Brian, that's life around here.
Yeah, I'm well aware. I do the show with Dave, too.
Say,
Hear all sorts of things in the background.
did I do that? You know,
Yeah, you did do that.
or I thought I did that, but I didn't.
In there.
I wake up and I see lights on, and I say, I didn't turn those lights on. What's going on?
Maybe the place is haunted.
Could be.
Okay.
It's my brain that's haunted.
Well, I hope not. Instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe. I was just talking about being flexible.
Yes?
Well, you're going to have to be flexible for the upload today, everybody, because I didn't even record that last segment at all. Just didn't hit the button. I was too mad.
Well,
But luckily, producer Jared is recording all of the audio, and he's going to get it to Sempervive, who will upload it a little bit later on, and we'll get it up on the front page.
hot and flexible, I am. That doesn't make you feel any better, does it?
That made me feel so much worse. Okay, a couple of notes. The Olympics are over, so it'll be very important to see where everything ends up now that they're over. Because SmackDown...
Back to where they were 2 weeks ago?
Well, WWE was not affected much by the Olympics, and AEW was killed. So we're going to find out how much of that was the Olympics and if there's something to worry about here. I wouldn't worry about it too much yet, although I will say You know,
You sure?
I understand that they were up against the Olympics and everything like that, but last week's Rampage and Collision numbers were like, I mean, I don't care if the Olympics were on, I don't care what. I mean, all time in the history of the shows, all-time record lows, under 200,000 viewers, we're talking. And, oh my God.
Well, and
in the normal time slot, by the way, for Rampage. The normal time slot. All-time lowest everything for that show.
Well, with Collision, they bounced back somewhat, but it's still one of the lowest of the year, and that's the problem is they still need another, 70,000 viewers? I mean, when the show's doing around 450, okay, that's fine, but you're also now going to be going into football season, which in the United States of America, as everybody knows, is brutal to you. And we saw the chunk that it took out of Collision when CM Punk, was there, let alone what it, ended up atrophying to. And this was a time for them to get hot leading into these big shows and leading into fall and their new deal supposedly and everything, all this excitement that you think should be happening here as we close out August and go into the fall. And I don't believe that they've actually gotten a whole lot more momentum at all. I think it's better than it's been at the beginning of the year for sure. They've had better shows and better moments, but there's a lot you can poke holes in, and I hadn't thought about this, but I've heard it more recently now because I don't pay attention to WrestleTix really or advanced sales, but I didn't realize how bad it was like in New York, what they scaled it for. It's only scaled for like 6,000 people or something like that, and they're not selling it out yet. And I look at some of the others, and it's like, there obviously is a problem here because not only are you cold, not only are finances tough for a lot of people, which I think people downplay that sometimes as far as, disposable income goes. But, it's, again, right now, there's problems there where they have got to try to regain some of their core fan base because they've lost those people and they got to figure out a way to try to get them back.
Well, the Rampage show this week, 219,000 and a 0.09. The SmackDown show, 2.3 million and a 0.64. That was a return of Roman Reigns. And Collision was 370 and a 0.11. So again, SmackDown hurt much less than Rampage and Collision were. And as far as like the quarters, Brandon Thurston sent out the quarters, and Collision was just like up and down the whole night. SmackDown was kind of up and down the whole night, and man, that Rampage was a straight line. I mean, you never see anything like it. Just whoosh. It had, how many people did it have? There were
whoever those
219,000 people. 219,000 people decided I'm watching Rampage today.
Yeah.
They started at the beginning, they watched to the end. None of them turned off. Nobody tuned in after the start time. It was just whoosh, straight line right across.
Hey, that's a good thing.
That was the sickos.
Those are your hardest of hardcore, or they fell asleep with the TV on. Either one of those two.
Actually, you know what? If I look at what's the Collision? What was a Collision low? The lowest, they only dropped to 335.
I mean, they were pretty
But
consistent.
I think that we can safely say, actually we can because they dropped below 200,000 last week. I would say that the number of sickos is about 219,000. That's your sickos. They're going to watch from beginning to end no matter what. 219,000 of them.
Yeah, and you know what? It's always amazing that about, 100,000 of those people don't order the pay-per-views. They are there for every TV show, but they do, around 120, 115, whatever.
Well, they may have friends, They go to a friend's house. If everyone has one friend over, that's the sickos.
Go to the bar. I guess you can't do that anymore. Is it in bars anymore, like the Buffalo Wild Wings and such?
I don't know. NXT tonight, we've got an amazing match that I cannot wait for.
Damn right.
Oba Femi versus Otis for the
God
North
bless.
American title.
I need to see somebody try to throw somebody in an overhead belly-to-belly.
I hope they just throw each other the entire match, each of them just back and forth. Nathan Frazier and Axiom versus Andre Chase and Ridge Holland for the tag team titles. Tony D versus Charlie Dempsey for the Heritage Cup. And Lexus King versus Eddie Thorpe. That's the lineup for tonight thus far.
You think Chase U's taking those belts?
No, I don't think so.
Ah, okay.
They could.
Not more jealousy with Ridge Holland?
And then tomorrow, we've got Swerve versus Wheeler in a non-title match.
Slaughter.
The Young Bucks versus the Acclaimed for the tag team titles. Mercedes versus Hikaru Shida for the TBS title. Hangman versus Jay Lethal. Britt Baker returns. She'll be there at the building. Claudio Castagnoli and Okada have a face-to-face for their match in Cardiff.
Is it Moxley and Okada? Is that?
I don't think Moxley is on either of these shows, dude. He's on break. He's on hiatus.
I don't know. I guess I don't have to know what they're doing, but I would.
They're probably in that gauntlet, dude.
Okada and you know what? With the way the character has been portrayed, fine. Go ahead.
Orange, Roderick, and Kyle. They're in the gauntlet. They're fighting for the number 1 spot.
They should be in the gauntlet.
Orange Cassidy is one of their biggest stars, dude.
Yeah, but they don't have a thing for him, so him being an anchor.
They don't have a thing for Okada either.
But he's also the type of worker, too. To me, that's fine. If he was involved in something big, I get it. But that's fine for him right now and the way he's been placed on that show and what he's been involved with. That's fine.
We've got a Mariah May film.
Oh, boy.
A Bryan Danielson video package. Oh, God. Is it wrong that now whenever there's a Bryan Danielson segment, I dread it? My God, what's he going to say this week?
Oh, God, I hope
if I get that title,
music.
I'm going to auction it off. What's he going to say? I don't know. And we will hear from Hook. What's this rumor about Hook?
What do you mean?
People telling me they heard that Hook had re-signed or something.
I don't know.
I don't think he has. I don't know where that came from.
No rumors about who he's hooking up with.
So that's the lineup. All right. A couple of notes from the Raw show on Monday night. First off, this new Judgment Day thing is so over. Damian Priest and Rhea are ridiculously over. And the heels are, of course, absolutely hated. And they have announced a mixed tag coming up at the Berlin show. Rhea and Damian versus Liv and Dominic.
I love it.
They're building up Rhea getting her hands on him.
Yes, and I know they're cowards. I don't care. You're cowards at this point. At this point in time, WWE could get away with doing a man versus woman match, especially if it's Rhea Ripley killing JD to warm up to killing Dom. But if this is going to be the only way we're going to get it, I'm all for it.
And then we had 2 really good matches. We had the Creeds versus Akira Tozawa and Otis in a Texas Tornado match, which Texas Tornado means all 4 guys are supposed to be in the ring at the same time. They still found a way to get heat on the baby faces by laying one guy out outside and still doing 2-on-1. And the best part was these 2 giant Creeds worked together to double pin, not Otis, Tozawa. Took 2 men to keep his shoulders down.
They undersold that, but that was great.
Yes. We had the main event, which was great, which was Braun Breaker, Sami Zayn, best of 3. They did not give Braun 2 straight. I'd have done that, but whatever. He did win 2 straight after Sami won the first. Destroyed him, speared him off the top as he was coming off. But honestly, the best thing on the show, which I don't have nearly enough time for, was first the segment setting up Miz versus Bronson Reed.
Hallelujah.
Legitimately the funniest thing I've seen on Raw in I don't know how long. And the funniest guy in it was Randy Orton, of all people. And it sets up Miz and Bronson Reed, and Bronson kills him. And then he goes to do another tsunami, and Truth tries to make the save. And so Truth ends up eating 6 tsunamis as the nerds try to break it up, and it fails every time. They drag his carcass to the other side of the ring so he can't get squashed. So Bronson just goes to the other side, squashes him again. Adam Pearce having a conniption fit. So I think we might be getting Bronson Reed going after Gunther for that title.
I love it.
I thought they are doing this Bronson Reed push is just the greatest.
Yeah.
It's the greatest.
You know what they did last night? It's like the cornet line of, you made them laugh, and you did that with Bronson and Miz, and then you made them stop laughing, and it pissed them off, and that's what happened with him killing
I kept laughing.
Truth. Well, him killing our Truth, though, was, I thought, very effective.
Back in a moment with more Observer Live. We did, in fact, by popular demand, watch Ready to Rumble.
The champion is some fat loser.
Yeah, he's a completely
talentless, no athletic ability, can't wrestle, broke bum that walked out on his wife and kid.
But he
and
was
he's
over.
the world champion.
He
and
was.
in the movie. The
Well, yeah, but
storyline
that's a
is-
microcosm of wrestling, sadly.
Yes.
He feels so bad about drinking this entire slushy that cost $1.26, and he sticks his finger in his asshole and walks up to the clerk.
Lance is dying. How could the movie be so bad?
I'm not going to fault the man for that, of all the things in the movie.
I thought for
okay?
sure you were going to say you'd done this before.
There's a reason I'm not going to fault the man for that.
I just think with all the porta potties and farting in this, that I think Vince McMahon was a secret producer on this film. Had to have been.
So then we get the Shermanator. He's playing a WCW arcade game. He uses some internet sleuthing to find the personal information of Jimmy King.
He's searching the internet. Gonna find out anything on here. This movie was so antiquated. Every Nitro Girl is in a Nitro Girl outfit, except for this girl. They had
They
her
want
dance
her
in something
to stand
totally
out,
different.
Brian, like the captain.
So we're so stupid. I got it.
Captain
Yes,
Stabbin.
if you're watching this film, you're that stupid. I'm sorry.
But I was also insulted by the fact they hired Michael Buffer to announce the Royal Bash, the fake-ass Royal Bash.
$24 million budget.
Wow.
And probably 500,000 of that went to Michael Buffer. It made 12. You know, we
He
should mention
unveils-
this cage match is the triple-decker Cage of Doom. Everybody buried it. It was horrible. Everybody hated it. And so they decided to make a movie. And what is the final battle? It's another goddamn triple-decker cage match. This would be like in 2010 if like TNA made a movie and the final match was a reverse battle royal.
They throw powder in someone's face, DDP's, I think, or somebody's, and the dude just looks and goes, "It doesn't work." And it's like, of course, because wrestling's fake and stupid.
Should we just end it there? What a soundbite. There has never been a movie I have watched in my entire life which has made me hate myself more.
Wow.
I'm ashamed that I'm even in the place at 41 years old where I would end up reviewing this movie for money. I would have thought I would have made it out of here by now. You know what I mean? I'm done.
Well, everyone, hopefully we can do this again someday. Instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe. Is here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Adam Abdallah is joining us here today. How you doing?
Hey guys, I'm doing good.
You know what I thought about here is I always watch these WWE, not even just WWE, but it's usually WWE nowadays, these giant stadium shows, and they're outside. And so you start watching the pay-per-view and it's light out, and then as the show goes on, it just starts getting darker, and soon it's nighttime. Watching the exact opposite right now. Sun's coming up over there. Where are you?
I am in Shibuya here in Tokyo at the Trunk Hotel.
Wow, what's going on?
Well, I am here in Japan this week for a couple of reasons. One, GCW is on tour here this week for the first time since October of last year. We had a joint show with DDT at Korakuen Hall on Monday. We had our first solo show at Shinjuku Face last night, and we have one more coming up, what I guess would be tonight in Japan. It'll air tomorrow night in the United States on Triller TV. And my role, in addition to being co-owner of Jersey Championship Wrestling, which is kind of like the NXT equivalent of GCW, is that I put together a major photo exhibition here of basically based on a book that I put together called Visitors with the photographer Nick Karp. So in October, GCW was the first American independent wrestling promotion to run Korakuen Hall on their own. And I did it basically like a travel doc style book with Nick, following the talent, all access, backstage at Kirkin, on the streets of Tokyo Dome City, things like that. And then in May, I curated an exhibition in New York. And now I was invited to bring it to Japan. So we have a show that opened on Monday night. We had a huge opening party with talent from across all promotions in Japan: Minoru Suzuki, Desperado, Gabe Kidd, Zack Sabre, plus the entire GCW roster. And we've also did a collaboration with Hao Ming Mask, one of the greatest wrestling merchandisers in the world, and also a designer of many famous wrestlers' gear. I'm wearing the official collaboration between me and them. The book's called Visitors, so it's the Visitors Japan Hao Ming collaboration. He also made a pretty sick GCW fanny pack for the first time. And yeah, I'm just kind of here promoting the book and promoting the exhibition, which is open for one more day here in Tokyo.
Nick
So-
Carp. Oh, I'm sorry.
I got one follow-up here, then you can go. So you mentioned that first United States indie promotion to ever run Korakuen Hall on their own, so not in association with anybody else.
Under their own banner, yeah.
Yes. So it's 2024. Like, how has this never happened before? Like, what can you tell us about Korakuen Hall, and is there a reason that no one's tried this before? Is it difficult to get a date there, or like, why did this never happen, and how did you guys make it work?
Well, Brett made it work, so I'm not going to take credit for that. But number one, it's not cheap. I'll tell you that.
Sure, yeah.
Number two, you have to forge, really strong relationships with other promotions in the region who have those inherent relationships with Korakuen Hall. And in the context of October, it was with Freedoms. So we were kind of during a multi-day run where they had a show and then we had a show. And then this past time was DDT, who has become our partner officially in Japan. And we, have brought them to the U.S. on multiple occasions. DDT and Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling were part of the collective this year during WrestleMania. It's not official for next year, but I foresee that happening again. So, we play nice in the sandbox. We work with a lot of different promotions around the world. And a lot of independent wrestlers from Japan love coming to GCW because it's a very active, large audience. Brett runs a lot of dates, usually around 6 a month, and they have a lot of creative freedom.
Yeah, I just consider Rina Yamashita at this point a GCW regular. As she moved to America, yet she might as well. Maki Ito as well, too.
Yeah, Rina is a GCW regular, and we consider Maki a GCW regular as part of the family, but she's officially a Tokyo Joshi Pro wrestler.
Yes.
But Rina is freelance officially. But they're part of the family, in the book, Visitors, I did a dinner after the first show we did at Korakuen, and it was for all the kind of GCW talent, and Maki and Rina were front and center. They're some of our most over talent, and they put on amazing matches every time. And, I think what's interesting when you look at GCW today versus maybe even like 4 or 5 years ago is that half the talent on the roster are female talent. There's no differentiation between how they're booked in terms of division or anything like that, but they're definitely a lot of the most over talent that we have. And Maki and Rina, I think Rina is one of the best wrestlers in the world personally. Really exemplified that. And Maki's one of the most charismatic.
Talk about the exhibition, because I've always been a fan of your work, and I think Nick Carp's got an incredible eye for some of the pictures that he's able to take and some of the moments that he's able to capture. You talked about being approached to bring the exhibition over to Japan, where every time somebody goes to Japan for the first time, they always talk about the fact that you can get all of these old books, all of these old photos, all of these old great things. Who approached you, and was there any hesitation at all over absolutely, if with the invite we will absolutely do this, or how did it all kind of come together for you guys to pull this off?
Well, initially I put together this show in New York, as I mentioned, during a time in New York called Freeze, which is kind of the biggest art fair in New York City. So I did the kind of a satellite exhibition at a nonprofit space where we did like a really big photo show. It was like a 1,500 square foot show with like 20 huge photos. And around the same time, it was announced that GCW would be returning for the first time since we captured what was in the book in now in August. Funny side note, by the way, about the book, which you can find at visitorsbook.com, is that A24 Films is also making a documentary about deathmatch wrestling. And they were doing a follow doc the exact same time that Nick and I were shooting on the road as well. So, that will come out at some point in the future from the guys who directed the twin brothers, Raka Raka, who directed Talk to Me. But I have a friend here who is kind of a major fashion designer and connector in Japan. His name's Bebe. And the Trunk Hotel here in Shibuya is actually about 200 feet away from Haoming Mask. And he said, hey, I want to introduce you to the people there. I think this would be a great space for the exhibition. And they hooked it up. And basically, I kind of did the work from there to work with the local curator here named Stuart Monroe, who's a British gentleman, an architecture professor who lives here full-time in Japan and speaks Japan. So with the exchange rate, I actually reprinted the entire show in a smaller scale for the space and also for the domestic size of people who may want to purchase the photographs. And I also partnered with my friends here at Sabukaru, which is essentially the equivalent of Vice, but in Japan. It's a major website and editorial platform that looks at subcultures. So that publication has been very supportive. If you look on their Instagram, they have about 250,000 followers. They did a post about deathmatch wrestling and about GCW that had 5,000 likes and a lot of comments, both negative and positive. So I've come to Japan about 9-10 times, and I kind of just tapped into the network that I've created both in the wrestling world and outside of the wrestling world. I actually did the world premiere of Harmony Korine's new film here in June through my shoot job, and through a rave for about 1,000 people. So I know people here, so it kind of helps.
Now let me ask you about this fanny pack, brother. How old are you?
I am 39 years old.
39 years old. Okay, I'm 10 years older. When I was younger, you wouldn't be caught dead in a fanny pack. It was only a complete nerd would ever wear a fanny pack. But I've noticed that this has changed, and not just in wrestling. In wrestling, it's always been cool to wear a fanny pack, and in fact, when you got into wrestling, you wore a fanny pack because the old wrestlers wore fanny packs. I saw a lot of guys doing that. But nowadays in the world, I see fanny packs all over the place. It's not goofy anymore.
It changed.
What happened?
Changed for Bryan when he bought his Louis Vuitton man purse for the first time. Then all of a sudden it was okay, I guess.
Hey, I got a couple of fanny packs now, so tell me more about this one here.
Yeah, well, this one was around. It was designed by Haoming. Tigre or Haoming Nishimura is a legendary kind of designer and merch purveyor here in Tokyo. And through the collaboration, we kind of did a capsule collection together to help support the book. He's my official retailer in Japan to sell the book because it's not easy to ship to Japan from the U.S. So I kind of drop shipped a whole bunch over here. And in exchange, he made this amazing GCW fanny pack. I think there's in 2 colorways, one that's red and white. And then he also made this T-shirt, which is the Haoming logo, which is kind of well known in wrestling. But if you look really closely, he's incorporated Nick's imagery into the mask. So there's pictures of Maki Ito and Joey and Masha Slamovich smashing a light tube over Rena's head, things like that. So I don't know. I think fanny packs have been getting pretty popular. I have a bunch of girlfriends who I bought those kind of Lucha Libre hip bags that Silvamore, Stash Pages sells of Psycho Clown and Octagon, and they went over like gangbusters. So I think they're much more fashionable than maybe they were at Gold's Gym in 1985.
Yeah, helps they look a hell of a lot better now. But I have a very esoteric question. But I have to do this because what other time would I have to do it? Sure. Everybody knows the name Bill Apter. Everybody knows the name George Napolitano that have been following wrestling and know who a photographer is. But for you, who are some of the people that you've seen from wrestling's past? Al Valvasor, Theo Arrett especially is somebody that I think of because of the Olympic and the fact that he had his own subculture. And again, for somebody, and I like subcultures, the apartment wrestling scene juxtaposed with the Olympic boxing and wrestling photography that he always sticks out in my mind. Who are some of the people that you like to look at in the past and even now? Not just Nick's stuff, but some of the people that are out there now.
Yeah, that's probably the best question anyone's ever asked me in the wrestling world about the work that I've been doing. First, you mentioned Al Vavasor. I actually own. I'm a collector of wrestling related artwork, so I own an archive of Al's work of portraiture of all the official portraits from like the 60s and 70s of NWA wrestling from around the country. I probably have like 80 or 90 like small photos from that. And then Theo Errett was actually probably my inspiration for Orange Crush, which was my magazine and is my magazine that was the predecessor to these single artist books that I've been doing. Theo Errett, as you mentioned, was well known for taking like really amazing action shots at the Olympic Auditorium in LA. And then he juxtaposed them with apartment wrestling, like kind of kink photography. And the artists, Cameron Jamie and the late Mike Kelly, put together a book with Tashin called Exquisite Mayhem, which is like this amazing book that mashes up these two photographers in conversation, both kind of like the blood and ecstasy of professional wrestling and then the kink of apartment wrestling. So it kind of opened my eyes to see like my real job is I work with museums, I work with foundations, I work with feature film companies on campaigns, and also putting together creative projects. And I was like, man, like I really want to contribute to wrestling in a way that is additive and I can actually use my skill set. And seeing Theo's work inspired me to do that. And it was actually the impetus for me launching Orange Crush. Other photographers right now who are really great in professional wrestling. Nick Karp, obviously, I've worked with him on numerous publications, including Death and COVID a few years back, which was a zine that was really controversial but sold out about deathmatch wrestling during the pandemic and all the places without regulation. Essentially, he braved and took some really candid photography. But there's people like Ryan Loco, who people really know well from his work in MMA and also his very close relationship with John Moxley. He shot the cover of Orange Crush 2.
Well, actually, hold that thought. We'll get a couple more after the break. Back in a moment, Observer Live.
You clear.
Granny, what's happening? What do we got for the wrestling report here today?
Talk or something.
Talk or something.
So Niven comes in, jumps on Bailey with her overweight body a couple of times, doesn't mind playing dirty, leaves Bailey on the mat in lots of pain. I found this book. It's called Limericks from the Heart.
Is this a Lanny Poffo book?
Let me finish this one. This guy's name is Lanny Poffo. And there are 335 pages in here. Can you guess what it's about?
Smoking.
Oh,
Sean
yeah.
the Wizard.
Have you read it?
We read it every week for about 6 months.
When I first started.
Wow.
Why don't we start reading some questions, and we'll see if we can spur some answers out of Granny. Shall we try?
I don't think so.
Let's try.
Then you'll really find out how dumb I am.
Granny, did you know there was a wrestling bear?
No, and I don't care.
All right.
It's a bear that wrestled people.
I still don't care.
Okay.
Is Granny frozen?
Granny, you frozen?
No, I'm ready to read my report.
Your picture is frozen.
It is.
Yeah. Or you're doing a great job as a ventriloquist.
Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa, or whatever his last name is. Paul Newman is watching this match, and he's not on Cody's side. What's the matter?
Absolutely nothing. Everything's great.
You know, Cody did say that he was looking for a manager. I think him and Paul Newman would be a...
What a handsome pair.
Yeah. A dashing duo.
That guy's a movie star, isn't he?
Since you're on the phone, why don't we just jump right into your wrestling report and such, and then we'll let you go and we'll do Facebook without you.
Can I lay the phone down and can you hear me?
You can try. Why don't you give it a shot?
Okay.
Oh, boy. It's going to be a disaster. I can already tell.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. That's all right, I guess.
Go ahead.
No, it's your segment. You're gonna read
us jokes
or your wrestling report or whatever. I see Granny has now put the phone back up to her ear.
I'm for now.
Do you have the soaps or anything else, Granny, or is that it?
I want to quit for now.
Okay. Well,
No more.
instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe. Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Adam Abdallah's here a little early in the morning in Japan. The sun's coming up on this interview, but our time is up. So let's get a couple more photographers out if you want to, and then get some plugs in here.
Oh, yeah. Best current wrestling photographers right now. Nick Karp, as I mentioned, who did the book with. Ryan Loco, who does amazing MMA and wrestling photography, did the cover of John Moxley's book. Michael Watson, otherwise known as Brainbuster, somebody I've collaborated with it in the past as well. Both of them do a lot of contract work for AEW now, besides Nick. So, a lot of their stuff is kind of seen through that lens, but they're two of the most talented independent photographers in wrestling. And there's a young guy in New York named David Perez, who goes by Second Gunny, whose work I really like too, who's probably kind of like the next guy, who people should keep an eye on. And yeah, those are the photographers we should look at. And then in terms of like what we have going on tonight, we have one more big show at Shinjuku Face tonight with GCW. Some big matches, including the GCW debut of Andreza the Giant Panda, who will be in a scramble match with Effie, Joey Janela, Jimmy Lloyd, among others, as well as stars from Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling and, the majority of our roster. And the first ever defense of the Jersey Championship Wrestling title in Japan.
And we can watch that where?
By Masha on Triller TV.
Triller
That's
TV,
Masha
everybody.
Slamovich against Marcus Mathers.
All right, we are totally out of time. Hey, I want to thank you so much for doing the show today. We owe you another one after last couple of days. But
the book, visitorsbook.com.
Visitorsbook.com. Grab that as well, everybody. And thank you so much for doing the show today. And, of course, thank you everybody for listening. We are totally out of time. Back tomorrow with more Wrestling Observer Live.